Hello everyone, this is your friend Naruto Fix, and we are back with another epic What If Naruto fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto grew stronger after being neglected by his parents in Chunin exams? Part 2. If you love Naruto fanfics, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the journey with me. So, let's start the fanfic. The sun rose over Konoha, painting the village in golden light. The Chunin exams were entering their second stage, and the air was thick with tension. Every genin had something to prove, but for Naruto Uzumaki, this wasn't just an exam. It was a declaration that he no longer needed anyone's acknowledgement, not his parents, not his senseis, not even his former teammates. He would show the world what true strength born of pain could become. Scene 1, before the second test. Naruto stood outside the Forest of Death, his orange cloak fluttering in the wind. But this wasn't the childish orange jumpsuit everyone remembered. His attire was darker, black and red, the design of his cloak sharp like fire licks, his eyes glowing faintly with determination. Beside him, his teammates, Karen Uzumaki and Yugao Azuki, watched quietly. The two were his allies from his new training under Jiraiya and later the mysterious mentor he had met during his travels. A masked man who taught him how to channel his anger into calm precision. Karen smirked, adjusting her glasses. So this is the famous Forest of Death, huh? Fitting name. Almost feels like home. Naruto glanced at her. Stay alert. This place tests more than skill, it tests control. And if we lose that, we lose everything. Quote, Yugao, always composed, nodded. We'll follow your lead, Naruto. I've seen you fight. You've grown far beyond what they think. Naruto's eyes darkened. They'll see soon enough. Scene 2, the Hokage's balcony. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, watched from above as the new generation prepared. Beside him stood Kushina Uzumaki, her red hair tied up, her eyes full of worry. He looks so different, she murmured. Minato nodded slowly. Yeah, Naruto's changed. There's something fierce in him now. Something I can't read. Kushina bit her lip. Maybe we should talk to him after this exam. I feel like we've lost him somewhere along the way. Quote, but Minato didn't reply. His gaze lingered on his son, the son he had neglected for the sake of his sister, Narumi, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Deep down, Minato knew, this cold silence between them wouldn't be easily mended. Scene 3, inside the Forest of Death. The gates opened with a screech. Begin. Anko's voice echoed across the area. Naruto's team dashed in instantly, their movements perfectly coordinated. Years of hidden training had made them efficient, silent, deadly, and unshakable. As they moved through the thick trees, Karen closed her eyes briefly. 3 chakra signatures closing in, northwest, about 500 meters. Naruto's hand formed a single seal. Intercept. No mercy. Quote, within moments, the enemy team, a group from the hidden cloud, found themselves surrounded. Before they could react, Naruto's clone exploded into motion, appearing behind them in a burst of wind. Wind style, Rasengan Gale. A swirling ball of wind chakra tore through the clearing, hurling 2 genin unconscious. The third one tried to flee, but Yugao's blade flashed, a clean strike knocking him out cold. Karen whistled. Fast as ever. Didn't even give them a chance. Naruto deactivated the Rasengan, his expression unreadable. Speed is mercy. They looted the scrolls, resting briefly near a stream. Karen noticed Naruto gazing into the water. His reflection stared back, eyes colder than ice, scars of solitude etched deep. You still thinking about them? She asked softly. Naruto didn't answer right away. You ever wonder if being ignored hurts more than being hated? Quote, Karen sighed. I stopped wondering a long time ago. People only value what they understand, Naruto. And they never understood us. He turned his gaze upward. Then I'll make them understand, through power. Quote, Scene 4, Team 7's struggle. Meanwhile, Sasuke, Sakura, and Narumi, the original Team 7, weren't doing so well. They had encountered a group from hidden sand, and Sasuke's Sharingan wasn't enough to keep up with Gaara's sand defense. Narumi tried to support with her chakra, but her control was unstable. Damn it! Sasuke shouted as a sand spike nearly impaled him. Narumi, focus. I'm trying, she yelled back. Why don't you stop being bossy for once? Quote, Sakura hid behind a tree, panicking. We're going to die here. Gaara, calm as ever, smirked. Pathetic, you call yourselves shinobi. Before his sand could crush them, a sudden wind tore through the battlefield. The sand scattered violently, and a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Maybe you should pick on someone who can actually fight back. Gaara's eyes widened slightly. Naruto landed between the teams, his cloak rippling in the breeze. Looks like my old team's struggling. His gaze fell on Narumi, who looked at him in shock and guilt. Naruto, she whispered. You're different. Naruto didn't look at her. Stay out of my way. Gaara chuckled. You think you can stop me? Naruto's expression didn't change. No, I know I can. The battle was brief, but devastating. Naruto's movements were fluid, every strike precise. He didn't overpower Gaara with rage, he dismantled him with technique. Wind style, crescent tempest. A slicing wind arc cracked Gaara's sand shield. Before he could reform it, Naruto appeared above him, Rasengan charged. The impact sent Gaara crashing into a crater. The forest went silent. Even the birds stopped singing. Narumi, frozen, could barely speak. You beat him so easily. Naruto turned slightly, his voice low. That's what happens when you stop relying on others and start trusting yourself. Quote, then he walked away, leaving Team 7 in stunned silence. Scene 5. Flashback, The Lonely Years. Flashback 3 years ago. Naruto knelt beneath a tree, bleeding from another failed training attempt. The night was cold, and the sounds of the village celebrating Narumi's birthday echoed in the distance. He smiled bitterly. Guess I'm not worth celebrating, huh? He had begged his parents to train him. Begged them to acknowledge him. But every time, the answer was the same. Narumi needs more attention, Naruto. She carries the burden of the 9 tails. You need to understand. But they never understood that he carried a different burden, the weight of being invisible. So, he trained alone. He mastered wind nature on his own. He learned sealing from stolen scrolls. He studied taijutsu by fighting wild beasts until his body broke. And when he met the masked mentor, the man who recognized his hidden potential, everything changed. You seek strength not for glory, the man said, his tone calm. But for freedom. Let me show you how to become unshakable. That was the day Naruto's old self died. Scene 6. Back to the present, Orochimaru appears. The forest darkened suddenly. The wind fell silent. Even Karen tensed. Naruto, there's something, no, someone huge approaching. A figure emerged from the shadows, pale skin, serpentine eyes, a sinister smile. Orochimaru, Naruto muttered. The Sannin laughed softly. So, you've grown into quite the surprise, little Uzumaki. I was actually looking for Sasuke, but you intrigue me far more. Yugo unsheathed her sword, standing ready. Stay behind me. Naruto stepped forward. No, he's mine. The air crackled. Orochimaru's tongue flicked. So confident. Show me what you've learned. Naruto vanished, appearing behind him in an instant. Shadow flash strike. His Rasengan collided with Orochimaru's defense, shaking the ground. Orochimaru grinned even as his arm regenerated. Impressive. You've touched power beyond the Hokage's reach. Tell me, who trained you? Quote, Naruto's eyes glowed faintly red. Someone you'll never touch. Orochimaru lunged, his snakes darting out, but Naruto countered with a wind explosion, slicing them apart mid-air. Rasengan barrage. Quote, 4 shadow clones surrounded Orochimaru, each wielding a different elemental Rasengan. The explosion that followed rattled the entire forest. When the smoke cleared, Orochimaru was gone, melted into the earth. But his laughter echoed faintly. I'll be watching you, Naruto Uzumaki. You might be the storm that swallows this village whole. Naruto's fists clenched. Let him watch. The storm's just beginning. Scene 7. The Hidden Observation. From the shadows, Jiraiya and Minato stood, having witnessed the battle. Jiraiya exhaled slowly. That kid, He surpassed even my expectations. Minato's eyes were wide. He fought Orochimaru head-on. Without fear. Jiraiya placed a hand on Minato's shoulder. You see now, don't you? What neglect can do. You made him train like a demon, not because he wanted to, but because you forced him to grow up alone. Quote, Minato's throat tightened. He's my son. Then start acting like it, Jiraiya said quietly. Scene 8, the end of the second test. Naruto's team reached the tower easily. While others limped, they walked in calm silence. The proctor smiled. Team Uzumaki, second to arrive. Excellent time. Naruto ignored the praise. His eyes scanned the hall, catching Narumi's from across the room. She tried to smile, but he turned away. Karen muttered, "You're really cold to them." Naruto replied flatly, "They froze me out first." As the proctors explained the next phase, the one-on-one battles, whispers spread. Did you see Naruto's fight with Gaara? Quote, yeah, he's not the same kid anymore. He even forced Orochimaru to retreat. Naruto stood silently, arms folded. He didn't need the attention, the whispers only fueled his resolve. Scene 9, night before the preliminary rounds. Naruto sat alone on the tower roof, the moon reflecting in his eyes. He felt a presence beside him. It was Yugao. You did great today, she said softly. You've already proven your worth. Naruto looked ahead. It's not about proving. It's about surpassing. Yugao frowned. Surpassing who? He closed his eyes. Everyone who left me behind. After a long silence, Yugao smiled faintly. Then you're almost there. Quote, Scene 10, preliminaries begin. The next day, the proctor announced, we'll now begin the preliminary matches to reduce the number of participants. The first few fights passed quickly. Sasuke showed off his new speed. Gaara's brutality remained unmatched, and Narumi struggled but pushed through. Then came the announcement that silenced everyone. Next match, Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. The crowd erupted. Naruto smirked. So fate wants to test me again. As he stepped into the arena, Neji stood calm and collected. You think power changes destiny, Uzumaki? You're just another fool chasing illusions. Naruto's smile was cold. Then let me shatter your illusion. The match began, and instantly, Naruto disappeared. Neji barely had time to activate his Byakugan before a wind pressure slammed into him. He spun to block, but Naruto was everywhere, above, behind, in front. Too slow. Naruto's voice came from behind him as his Rasengan struck Neji's chest, sending him flying. Coughing, Neji staggered up. Impossible, my rotation should have blocked that. Naruto walked forward, calm. You rely on fate. I rely on will, and will breaks fate. With that, his final Rasengan connected, and Neji crashed unconscious. The crowd roared. Minato stood frozen. He's unbeatable. Kushina's eyes filled with tears. That's our son. Naruto looked up at the balcony, straight into his father's eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Naruto turned away. The match was over, but the distance between father and son had never felt wider. Scene 11, Epilogue, the storm before the finals. That night, lightning flashed across Konoha. Naruto sat atop the Hokage monument, wind whipping around him. He whispered into the storm, you all see me now, but soon, you'll understand what it cost. Quote, a shadow appeared behind him, the masked mentor once again. You've done well, the man said. But are you ready for what comes next? Naruto's eyes burned like fire. I'm ready for everything. The masked man nodded. Then, Naruto Uzumaki, the Chunin exam finals will be your reckoning. Show them the power of the Forsaken. The storm thundered, a sign of what was to come. 10 quarters, 11:04 a.m., Vivavat, the day after Naruto's overwhelming victory against Neji, the entire village buzzed with whispers of his power. Every corner of Konoha echoed his name, from the training fields to the ramen shops. Those who once ignored him now couldn't stop talking about the storm that had risen from silence. Naruto, however, felt nothing from it. Praise meant nothing when it came from those who had never believed in him before. He walked through the streets quietly, his dark cloak brushing against his legs, eyes calm but cold. Villagers moved aside as he passed, some in awe, some in fear. He didn't look back at anyone. Not even when someone whispered, "That's the fourth son, right? The one who was neglected for the Nine-Tails girl." He stopped only once, in front of Ichiraku Ramen. Chuki looked up from behind the counter and smiled warmly. "Naruto, it's been a long time, son." Naruto's expression softened, just a little. "Hey, old man Chuki. Come in, come in. First bowls on the house." Naruto sat quietly, the warm aroma of ramen filling the air. When Chuki placed the bowl before him, Naruto stared into the steam for a while before saying softly, "This place feels the same." Chuki chuckled. "Some things shouldn't change. Heard you made quite a name for yourself in the exams." Quote. Naruto gave a small smile. "Guess so." Ayami leaned over the counter, curious. "Everyone's saying you defeated Neji with just a few moves. Is that true?" Naruto twirled his chopsticks, eyes distant. "Yeah, but it wasn't about defeating him. It was about defeating everything that kept me small." Chuki nodded thoughtfully. "You've grown, Naruto. But don't let strength make your heart heavy. Even storms rest after they pass." Quote. For a moment, Naruto didn't reply. Then he quietly said, "Some storms never rest." He finished his ramen, thanked them, and disappeared into the evening mist. Later that night, Naruto stood on the training ground outside the village, hands wrapped in bandages, chakra flaring in quiet pulls. Around him. His clones surrounded him, each mirroring his stance. The Rasengan in their hands burned brighter, sharper, mixed with wind and raw precision. He slammed one into a stone pillar, the explosion echoing across the plains. The pillar shattered like glass. Dust rose into the air as Naruto exhaled deeply, his eyes narrowing. Karen's voice came from behind him. "You've been training for hours. Even for you, that's a lot." Naruto didn't turn. "I can't afford to slow down." She stepped closer. "You already beat the Hyuga prodigy. What more do you need to prove?" Naruto's eyes flickered red for an instant. "Everything." Karen sighed and crossed her arms. "You keep chasing something that isn't even your fault. They were the ones who failed you, not the other way around." "I know." His tone was flat. "But that doesn't change the fact that their shadow still hangs over me." Quote. There was silence between them for a moment before Karen spoke again. "You don't talk about your family much. Not even about your sister." Naruto smirked bitterly. "What's there to talk about? She got their love, I got their absence. She became their hero, I became their mistake." Karen frowned. "You don't really mean that." He looked up at the stars. "No, I mean every word. The day of the finals came sooner than anyone expected. The arena was overflowing. Shinobi, nobles, and villagers from every corner of the nations had gathered to witness the conclusion of the Chunin exams. Flags of the Hidden Leaf fluttered in the warm breeze, and the air thrummed with anticipation. On the high balcony, the Hokage stood alongside the Kazekage, or rather, the man everyone thought was the Kazekage, Orochimaru in disguise, his smile hidden beneath his hat. Minato's gaze wandered across the crowd until it fell on Naruto entering the arena. For a moment, he felt pride swell in his chest, but it was quickly followed by guilt. He still remembered the look Naruto gave him after defeating Neji, distant, hollow, cold. Kushina stood beside him, hands clasped tightly. "He looks so strong, so distant," she whispered. "Minato, what have we done?" Minato couldn't answer. His voice failed him. Naruto walked to his position on the battlefield, every step measured. Across from him stood Gaara, his face unreadable, the sand gourd strapped to his back as always. The crowd buzzed in excitement. Two monsters of talent, one fueled by rage, the other by solitude, were about to clash. Gaara tilted his head slightly, his voice low. "You hurt me once before, Uzumaki. But this time, I won't hold back." Naruto's gaze was sharp. "Good, neither will I." The referee signaled. "Begin." Sand exploded into the air, forming claws that lunged for Naruto instantly. He dodged with blinding speed, the ground cracking under his feet. His wind chakra wrapped around his fists, slicing through the sand like paper. Gaara's eyes widened. "Your speed, it's faster than before." Quote, Naruto smirked faintly. You think I stopped training after our last fight? The two clashed again, Gaara forming massive sand arms while Naruto created clones, each attacking from different angles. The sound of impacts thundered through the stadium, sending shockwaves rippling across the arena. Minato watched closely, analyzing his son's movements. His taijutsu is flawless, his chakra control near perfect. Even his reaction time surpasses Jonin level. Jiraiya grinned. Told you he's something else. You didn't raise him, Minato, Pain did. As the battle intensified, Gaara unleashed Shukaku's chakra, his sand forming a monstrous hand. You can't beat me, Naruto. I was born from hatred. Naruto's aura flared, wind spiraling around him like a cyclone. His eyes glowed blue with a hint of red. Then I was forged from it. He charged, his Rasengan transforming, wind blades swirling around its edges, a perfect fusion of his nature sea. Chakra and raw emotion. Wind style, Rasen Shuriken. The entire stadium trembled as Naruto hurled the glowing sphere. The explosion that followed split the arena floor in half, the shockwave knocking half the crowd back. Gaara's sand shield shattered completely, leaving him sprawled unconscious, his gorge shattered into dust. The dust cleared. Naruto stood amidst the debris, breathing heavily, his cloak torn but his gaze unwavering. The crowd was speechless, then erupted in cheers that shook the arena. But Naruto didn't hear them. He looked only at the balcony, where his parents stood frozen. Minato's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Naruto's eyes locked with his for a few seconds before he turned and walked away from the arena floor. He didn't wait for his name to be announced as the victor. Later that day, as medics tended to the injured, Naruto stood alone behind the stadium, leaning against a wall. His hands trembled faintly, not from exhaustion, but from the emotion he'd suppressed for too long. Karen and Yugao found him there. Karen stepped forward. You won. Why do you look like you lost? Naruto exhaled slowly. Because every victory just reminds me how alone I was getting here. Yugao's voice was calm. You're not alone anymore, Naruto. He looked at him, really looked at him, and smiled faintly. Yeah, maybe not. But before the moment could settle, a massive explosion rocked the village. Smoke rose from the outer walls, and screams echoed from the crowd still in the arena. Naruto's head snapped toward the sound. That chakra, it's Orochimaru. Karen cursed under her breath. He's attacking the village. Naruto's eyes hardened. He was waiting for this moment. Chaos broke out instantly. Sand and sound shinobi flooded the arena. Minato ordered the Anbu into motion, while the other Kage, or rather, Orochimaru in disguise, revealed his true form. Minato leapt into action, clashing with Orochimaru atop the stadium roof, their power shaking the sky. Jiraiya joined the fight, summoning massive toads to battle the summoned snakes. Naruto stood at the edge of the destruction, chakra flaring wildly. He saw children crying, villagers running for safety, and in that instant, something inside him snapped. He formed a dozen shadow clones, sending them into the chaos. Help the villagers. Get everyone to the shelters. Then he turned toward the battlefield, his eyes glowing a fierce blue. It's time to end this. Quote, he appeared beside Minato and Jiraiya in a blur of motion. Orochimaru grinned darkly. So, the boy comes to play too. Naruto's voice was cold. I'm not here to play. Orochimaru launched a volley of snakes, but Naruto's wind chakra sliced through them instantly. He appeared behind the Sannin, slamming a Rasengan into his back. Orochimaru barely managed to counter with his own defense, but the impact still sent him flying into a pillar. Jiraiya laughed despite the danger. Damn, kid, you're making the Sannin look bad. Naruto didn't smile. He's mine. Orochimaru emerged from the rubble, his smile twisted. You've grown strong, Naruto Uzumaki. But can you surpass a god? Quote, Naruto's chakra surged, wind swirling around him until the air itself roared. I don't need to surpass gods. I just need to destroy monsters. Their battle lit up the entire arena, Rasengan against Serpentine Jutsu, wind against venom. Orochimaru's laughter grew more unhinged, but Naruto didn't let up. Every strike was sharper, faster, more precise. Finally, Naruto broke through Orochimaru's defense, slamming a Raisin Shuriken point blank. The explosion tore through the rooftop, leaving a crater where Orochimaru had stood. When the dust cleared, Orochimaru was gone, his body slipping away like a shadow. Naruto fell to one knee, breathing heavily, but still conscious. Minato landed beside him, hand on his shoulder. Naruto. Naruto stood up instantly, brushing his father's hand away. Save your words. The village still needs you. He turned to leave, but Minato's voice stopped him. Naruto, wait. Naruto paused but didn't look back. Minato's voice trembled slightly. I'm sorry. For everything. For a moment, there was silence. Then Naruto said quietly, sorry doesn't erase years, Hokage-sama. Quote. And with that, he walked away. The invasion was eventually repelled. The village survived, though battered. Orochimaru escaped, but his forces were crushed. That night, the sky was clear, calm after the storm. Minato and Kushina stood on the balcony of the Hokage Tower, watching the stars. He's right, Kushina whispered. Sorry doesn't fix what we did. Minato closed his eyes. Then we'll start fixing it with actions. Quote. But somewhere outside the village, on a quiet hill overlooking Konoha, Naruto stood alone. The wind brushed through his hair as he gazed down at the village that had both made and broken him. He whispered softly, you finally see me now, but I stopped needing you long ago. Quote. His eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. Still, I'll protect this village. Not for them, but for what it should have been. The night wind carried his words away as he vanished into the trees, his shadow merging with the darkness, the unseen guardian of the leaf, forged from pain, shaped by solitude, and born again in strength. The legend of Naruto Uzumaki, the forgotten son who rose above gods, was only beginning. 10 quarters, 11:05 a.m., Vivavit, Naruto didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. The sounds of battle still echoed in his mind, Orochimaru's laughter, the screams of villages, the weight of his father's voice calling his name. He stood beneath a half-moon sky, the wind brushing through the silent forest, his cloak fluttering like a whisper of anger. Every part of him should have felt satisfied. He'd fought a Sannin. He'd saved the village. He had proved beyond doubt that he was stronger than anyone ever imagined. But there was still a void, an empty ache that no victory could fill. He had everything he wanted, except the one thing he'd always needed, understanding. A faint crunch of leaves broke his thoughts. Naruto turned, already sensing the chakra. I know you're there. From the shadows stepped Narumi, her face streaked with dirt and dried tears. You're hard to find these days, big brother. Naruto's eyes softened slightly at the sound of her voice but quickly turned cold again. I didn't think you'd bother looking. Narumi hesitated. You're angry at us. I can feel it. But, why won't you even try to talk to mom and dad? Naruto's laugh was short, bitter. Talk, after all these years of silence. You think words can erase being forgotten. She took a step closer. They didn't mean to, Naruto. You know that. They were just busy with you, he cut in sharply, his voice low but filled with restrained fury. Busy making sure you were strong. You were safe. You were loved. And me. His voice cracked for the first time. I trained alone in the dark. I bled alone. I cried where no one could hear me. So don't tell me what they meant or didn't mean. Narumi bit her lip, tears welling. I didn't ask for that, Naruto. I never wanted you to feel left behind. Naruto looked away, the wind carrying his words like shards of glass. Intentions don't matter when the result's the same. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was heavier than any battle. Finally, Narumi whispered, you're stronger than anyone now, but you're still alone. Doesn't that hurt? Naruto looked at her, and for the first time in years, his eyes flickered, not with anger, but sadness. Yeah, it does. But I've learned to live with pain. It's the one thing that never leaves me. He turned and walked past her, leaving her standing beneath the cold moonlight, the sister who had everything except her brother's heart. Days passed. The invasion aftermath had left the village shaken. Buildings were being rebuilt, families mourned the dead, and whispers of Naruto's strength spread like wildfire. Children in the streets pretended to be him, shouting, Rasengan. while spinning their hands. Elders muttered about how much he resembled the fourth. And for the first time, many villagers looked at him not with disdain, but with respect. But Naruto didn't care about any of it. He trained harder than ever, far away from everyone else, deep in the forest beyond the Hokage mountain. Karen and Yugao visited him sometimes, but even they couldn't break the wall he'd built around himself. One afternoon, as the sun filtered through the trees, Jiraiya appeared, leaning lazily against a trunk. "You've got quite the habit of running away from people who want to talk to you, kid." Naruto didn't stop his training. The raisin shuriken spun in his palm, its whine piercing the air. "If you came to scold me, you're wasting your time." Jiraiya grinned. "No scolding. Just talking. You fought like a true shinobi that day. Hell, you fought better than most Kage." Naruto let the jutsu dissipate, breathing hard. "That's supposed to make me feel proud." Jiraiya's grin faded. "You've got a lot of anger buried inside, Naruto. It's powerful, but dangerous. You let it guide you too much, it'll burn you from the inside." Naruto finally looked at him, ice cold. "You think I don't know that? Anger's the only thing that's ever pushed me forward. The only thing that listened when no one else did." Quote. Jiraiya sighed deeply. "You sound just like Nagato when he was your age." That made Naruto pause. "Nagato? Yeah," Jiraiya said softly. "Another student of mine. He had eyes that could see pain in the world. He believed power would bring peace. But he was wrong, power only made his pain louder." Naruto was quiet for a long time. "Then what's the right way?" Jiraiya smiled faintly. "Finding strength that doesn't need pain to exist." Quote. Naruto turned away again. "Sounds like a dream." "Maybe," Jiraiya said, "but dreams are where peace begins." Before Naruto could respond, a shadow appeared behind them, Kakashi. He looked serious. "Naruto, Hokage-sama wants to see you." Naruto frowned. "Tell him I'm busy." Kakashi's single visible eye hardened. It wasn't a request. Naruto didn't reply. He simply turned and started walking toward the village, wind rustling through the trees behind him. When he entered the Hokage's office, the air was thick with tension. Minato and Kushina stood behind the desk, and Jiraiya quietly followed him in. Naruto stopped a few feet away, arms crossed. Minato tried to smile, but it faltered quickly. "Naruto, I wanted to thank you for what you did during the invasion. You saved countless lives." Naruto's reply was emotionless. "That's my job as a shinobi." Kushina stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "You're not just a shinobi, Naruto. You're our son." Naruto's eyes narrowed. Funny how that word suddenly matters now. Kushina's heart cracked at the sound of his voice. "We made mistakes. We thought focusing on Narumi was the right choice. We wanted to protect both of you. By forgetting one." Naruto's tone was sharp, cutting through her words. "You wanted to protect me by leaving me alone. You call that love?" Minato clenched his fists. "Naruto, please. You have every right to be angry. But we want to make things right." Naruto turned away, staring out the window at the village below. "You can't fix something that's already shattered." Quote. "Maybe not," Minato said quietly, "but we can start by trying." Naruto didn't answer for a long time. Then, without looking at him, he said, "Actions. Not words." And with that, he walked out, leaving the office in silence. As days turned to weeks, the village began to rebuild. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't the reconstruction, it was Naruto's growth. His missions became legendary. Rogue Nin feared his name. His teammates trusted him with their lives. Even the Anbu whispered about his precision, how he could take down a Jonin before they could blink. But beneath all the glory, Naruto still felt empty. Every time someone praised him, he remembered how those same voices used to call him a curse. Every time someone smiled, he saw the faces of the ones who had looked away when he was alone. He had become everything he wanted to be, but lost the reason why he wanted it. One evening, he stood atop the Hokage monument again, the sunset painting the sky in orange and gold. The wind felt gentle for once. He closed his eyes, letting it brush against his face. "You always come here," a soft voice said behind him. It was Hinata. Naruto opened his eyes but didn't turn. Guess I like the view. Quote. She walked closer, her pale eyes warm and kind. No, you come here because it's the highest place in the village. You can see everything, but no one can reach you. Naruto chuckled softly. Maybe. Hinata looked at him for a long moment. You've changed, Naruto. You're stronger than anyone, but your eyes look sad. He looked at her finally, and for a brief moment, the mask cracked. You're the first person to notice. Quote. Hinata smiled faintly. I noticed long before. I just didn't have the courage to say it. Naruto turned back toward the horizon. Courage, huh? Sometimes I think I lost mine the day they stopped looking at me. Quote. Hinata shook her head. No, you found a different kind of courage, one that kept you alive when no one stood beside you. But even the strongest hearts need someone to remind them they're still human. Quote. Naruto didn't reply, but for the first time, his chest felt lighter. The wind carried their silence as the sun dipped below the mountains, and for that brief moment, Naruto wasn't the forgotten son or the forsaken prodigy, just a boy who'd finally found someone who understood his pain without words. That night, as the stars filled the sky, Minato stood on the same monument after Naruto had left, looking down at the village with quiet guilt. Kushina joined him, her expression solemn. He's so far away from us, she whispered. Even when he's right here. Minato nodded slowly. He's built walls that love alone can't break. But we'll keep trying. We owe him that much. Kushina wiped a tear from her cheek. He saved us, Minato, and we couldn't even save him from loneliness. Quote. Minato placed a hand over hers. Then we'll make sure he never feels it again, no matter how long it takes. Far below, Naruto's faint figure disappeared into the shadows of the village, the wind curling around him like a guardian spirit. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, more battles, more pain, or maybe, just maybe, a path toward healing. But for the first time, there was a spark of something new deep inside him. Not anger, not hatred, something small, fragile, but real. Hope. 10 quarters, 11:07 a.m., Vivavat. The crowd's roar echoed across the stadium, but Naruto Uzumaki stood silently, his blue eyes burning with intensity. The air around him felt different, calm yet filled with power. Everyone could sense it, something about him had changed. Across the field, Neji Hyuga glared at him, his Byakugan veins bulging with pride and arrogance. Fate will not change, Neji said coldly, stepping forward. No matter how much you struggle, a failure like you will always remain beneath me. Naruto smirked faintly, his expression calm. Maybe, but I don't care about fate. I make my own destiny. The proctor dropped his hand. Begin. Neji dashed forward with incredible speed, his palms glowing with chakra. 8 trigrams. But before he could finish, Naruto vanished. The entire crowd gasped. In an instant, Naruto appeared behind Neji, a gust of wind blasting outward as he moved. He didn't even use hand signs, it was pure physical speed combined with chakra control. Neji barely had time to turn before Naruto's palm connected with his chest, sending him flying backward into the arena wall. Dust exploded across the field. Everyone was stunned, especially Minato and Kushina, who were watching from the cage stands. Their son, the same boy they had ignored for years, now moved like a high-ranking shinobi. Minato's hand trembled slightly as he whispered, "That speed, even I couldn't track it clearly." Kushina clenched her fists, her heart pounding. And Naruto, what did he go through to become this strong? Down below, Neji emerged from the rubble, panting, his eyes wide with disbelief. That was impossible. You shouldn't even be able to move like that. Quote. Naruto's voice was calm, almost emotionless. You talk about fate, but you've never fought against it. You've just accepted the limits others gave you. I broke mine. Neji roared and rushed in again, activating his full Byakugan, striking at Naruto's Tenketsu points with precision. But this time, every strike missed. Naruto's movements were too fluid, his reactions too sharp. As Neji extended his hand again, Naruto caught it, gently, and twisted, sending Neji sprawling to the ground. Then, for the first time, Naruto gathered chakra in his palm. A swirling blue sphere appeared, glowing fiercely. Minato's eyes widened. That's, Kakashi whispered from the stands, the Rasengan. Naruto didn't slam it into Neji, though. Instead, he stopped an inch from his chest. The wind from it tore Neji's sleeve and cratered the ground beneath him. Fate doesn't decide anything, Naruto said quietly. You do. When he dispersed the Rasengan, silence filled the entire stadium. Even the proctor seemed frozen before finally raising his hand. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. The cheers that followed were deafening, but Naruto barely reacted. He simply walked off the field, ignoring the admiration of the crowd. Up in the stands, Minato and Kushina exchanged a pained look. They wanted to run to him, to speak to him, but deep down, they knew they had lost that right long ago. Hinata, sitting near the other genin, had tears in her eyes. She had always believed in him, even when no one else did. Seeing him now, so strong and distant, made her heart ache. Meanwhile, Sasuke clenched his fists tightly. That power, Naruto's not the same dead last anymore. Quote, Sakura whispered, he's amazing. Gaara, from the opposite stand, watched quietly, his expression unreadable. So, you've grown strong too, Naruto Uzumaki. I look forward to testing you. Later, in the waiting area, Naruto leaned against the wall, closing his eyes. His chakra felt steady, refined. The years of training alone, away from the village's warmth, away from his family, had honed him into something entirely new. But deep inside, he still felt that emptiness, that cold, hollow pain from being neglected. Footsteps approached. He didn't need to open his eyes to know who it was. Long time no see, Naruto. Naruto's eyes opened slowly. Standing before him was Jiraiya, the Toad Sage himself. Pervy Sage, Naruto said flatly. Jiraiya winced. Still calling me that, huh? You've grown strong, brat. Stronger than I expected. Naruto's gaze turned cold. Where were you when everyone ignored me? Jiraiya's face fell. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. Naruto stood and walked past him, leaving only one sentence behind. Don't pretend to care now. Jiraiya watched him go, his heart heavy. Minato, Kushina, you two made a terrible mistake. Later that evening, Hokage office. Minato sat alone, the reports of Naruto's match scattered across his desk. His fingers trembled as he read through the observations. Advanced chakra control, superior taijutsu, mastery of the Rasengan, techniques that should have taken years under guidance. Kushina entered quietly, her red hair swaying as she spoke softly. Minato, we need to talk to him. Minato sighed deeply. I know, but will he even listen? Kushina's eyes filled with tears. He's our son, he has to. Quote, Minato turned toward the window, watching the Hokage monument glow in the evening light. We'll try after the exams. For now, let's just watch. But deep down, both of them knew, the bond they once had with Naruto was broken. Next day, preliminary battles. Naruto sat silently as the next rounds began. Shikamaru's match was clever as always, and Gaara's was terrifying. When Sasuke's turn came, he displayed impressive speed, but Naruto noticed something. He's relying on the Sharingan too much. Naruto shook his head. Sasuke's power was growing fast, but it was unbalanced. Still, Naruto respected his rival's determination. When Sasuke returned from his match, he approached Naruto, smirking. Not bad, Dobe, but don't think I'll let you steal the spotlight. Naruto smiled faintly. Then you'll have to catch up. For a brief moment, the tension between them felt almost friendly again, but behind their eyes, a silent rivalry burned. Night before the finals. Naruto trained alone in the forest. The moonlight filtered through the trees as he moved, each motion precise and fluid. His chakra control had reached near perfection. As he practiced, a gentle voice interrupted him. You've changed, Naruto-kun. Hinata stepped out from behind a tree, her hands clasped nervously. Naruto looked at her, his expression softening slightly. Hinata, you shouldn't be out here this late. Quote, she shook her head. I wanted to see you. I wanted to tell you, I'm proud of you. You've worked so hard. For the first time in a long while, Naruto smiled genuinely. Thanks, Hinata. You were the only one who ever believed in me. Quote. Her cheeks turned red, and she looked down, flustered. I always will. There was a brief silence before Naruto looked up at the sky. Tomorrow's going to be tough. Gaara, he's different. There's darkness in him, like something inside me. Quote. Hinata nodded softly. Then show him your light, Naruto-kun. Naruto chuckled quietly. Yeah, I will. Final day, Naruto vs. Gaara. The crowd was even larger than before. The Kazekage himself, or rather, Orochimaru in disguise, sat beside Minato, both watching intently. As Naruto and Gaara stepped into the arena, the tension was suffocating. Gaara's voice was calm but twisted. You're like me, Naruto Uzumaki. A monster wearing a human face. Naruto's gaze was steady. Maybe, but I learned something you didn't. And what's that? Gaara asked, smirking. Naruto clenched his fists. Being alone doesn't mean you have to stay broken. With that, the match began. Gaara instantly unleashed sand attacks, but Naruto countered with blinding speed, weaving through the sand like lightning. His movements were unpredictable, every step charged with chakra. The ground cracked as he slammed a chakra-enhanced punch into Gaara's defense, shattering parts of the sand armor. The crowd gasped. Gaara screamed, furious, sand swirling wildly. Mother will protect me. You won't hurt me. Sand spikes shot out in all directions, but Naruto spun mid-air, forming hand seals. Wind style, great breakthrough. Quote. A massive gust exploded outward, scattering the sand. Before Gaara could recover, Naruto appeared above him, a massive Rasengan forming in his palm, larger, faster, more refined than before. Take this, wind release, Rasengan. Quote. The blast hit Gaara's defense, breaking through it and sending him crashing into the wall. The explosion shook the entire stadium. Smoke filled the air. When it cleared, Gaara lay unconscious, his sand crumbling away. Naruto stood over him, panting slightly, but victorious. The proctor's voice echoed, winner, Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd erupted into cheers once again, but Naruto didn't smile. He simply turned his back, walking away quietly. Up in the stands, Minato rose to his feet, unable to stay silent anymore. That's my son. The words slipped out before he could stop them. The audience turned, murmuring. Naruto froze mid-step, his back still facing them. Slowly, he looked up, meeting Minato's eyes from across the arena. The silence that followed was heavier than any cheer. Naruto didn't speak. He simply turned away and vanished in a swirl of wind, leaving the entire stadium stunned. Later that night, on the Hokage monument, Naruto sat on the edge of the fourth's head, watching the village lights below. The same village that had once ignored him now chanted his name, but it didn't fill the emptiness inside. He heard footsteps behind him. Without turning, he spoke softly. You finally came. Minato and Kushina stood there, their faces filled with regret. Kushina's voice trembled. Naruto, we're sorry. We made terrible mistakes. We just wanted to protect everyone, including you. Naruto's eyes stayed fixed on the horizon. Protect me. By pretending I didn't exist. Minato stepped forward, his voice low. I failed you as a father. But please, give us a chance to make things right. Naruto finally turned to face them, tears glimmering in his eyes, but they weren't tears of forgiveness. They were the tears of a boy who had already learned to let go. You had your chance, he whispered. Now I walk my own path. Without another word, he vanished into the night, leaving only the whisper of the wind behind. As the wind brushed across the monument, Minato and Kushina stood in silence. Kushina fell to her knees, sobbing. He's gone, we lost him. Minato placed a trembling hand on her shoulder, his gaze distant. No, he's not lost. He's just, finally free. 10 quarters, 11:09 a.m., Vivavat. The night wind brushed against Naruto's face as he disappeared from the Hokage monument. His heart felt heavy, his mind spinning with memories, the lonely nights, the pain, the endless hunger for acknowledgement. Even though he had won, even though the world finally cheered his name, the hole in his heart refused to close. He landed silently in the outskirts of the village, deep inside Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long shadows. Naruto closed his eyes, sitting cross-legged on the cold grass, his chakra swirling calmly around him. Why can't I just let it go? He whispered to himself. For a long time, there was only silence, until a deep, echoing voice rumbled inside his mind. Greater than, because hatred does not vanish so easily, boy. Naruto's eyes opened, and he found himself inside his mindscape, standing before the massive iron bars that sealed the Nine Tails, Kurama. The red eyes glowed like molten fire through the darkness. Greater than, you've grown stronger, Kurama said, his tone grudgingly respectful. But you still cling to that pain. That's what fuels you. Naruto stared at the beast behind the seal. Pain made me who I am. But it doesn't control me anymore. Kurama gave a low, rumbling laugh. We'll see about that, brat. The world that rejected you, will one day need you. And when that happens, your pain will either save them, or destroy them. Quote, Naruto's expression hardened. Then I'll make sure it saves them. The fox snorted. HMPH. Foolish human, but perhaps you're different. Naruto opened his eyes again, the world of his mind fading. He stood up, gazing at the moon. Somewhere deep down, Kurama's words echoed. The world that rejected you will one day need you. Next morning, village streets. The Chunin exams finals were over, but the village was buzzing with excitement. Merchants were talking about Naruto's fight, villagers whispered his name with awe. The same people who once glared at him with hatred now spoke with admiration. Naruto walked through the crowd, hood drawn low. He heard fragments of their words. Greater than, that blonde kid, he's the Hokage's son, right? Did you see how he beat that Hyuga boy? Incredible. He's stronger than any genin I've ever seen. Naruto didn't respond. Every compliment felt hollow. Where were these voices when he was starving on the streets? Where were they when he had no one to talk to? He kept walking until he reached Ichiraku Ramen. Chuki looked up, smiling warmly. Naruto, you've been making waves, kid. Naruto gave a faint smile and sat down quietly. Hey, old man, one miso ramen, please. As Chuki prepared the bowl, Ayami peeked from behind the curtain, grinning. You were amazing out there. Everyone's talking about you. Naruto chuckled softly. Thanks. Guess all that training finally paid off. Chuki placed the steaming bowl before him. No matter what happens, you'll always have a place here, Naruto. Quote, Naruto's eyes softened. Yeah, thanks. He began to eat silently, the warmth of the ramen easing his mind, if only for a moment. Meanwhile, Hokage's office. Minato was pacing restlessly while Kushina sat across the desk, her hands clenched together. He won't talk to us, Minato, she said quietly. Every time he sees us, it's like, he looks right through us. Minato sighed deeply. I know, we can't force him. We have to earn his trust back. Kushina bit her lip. Do you think he'll ever forgive us? Minato looked out the window toward the village. He might not, but that won't stop me from trying. Just then, Jiraiya entered the room, his face unusually serious. Minato, we've got a problem. I've sensed something strange, foreign chakra signatures around the village. The invasion might begin sooner than we thought. Minato's eyes narrowed. Orochimaru. Jiraiya nodded grimly. And he's not coming alone. That evening, Training Ground 7. Naruto stood before Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura. The air felt heavy with tension. Kakashi smiled under his mask. So, you three have come a long way. But remember, tomorrow's not just another battle. Be ready for anything. Sasuke smirked. TCH, I'm always ready. Naruto didn't say anything. His eyes were calm, steady, sharper than before. Kakashi looked at him for a long moment before speaking softly. Naruto, I saw your match. You've become someone different, but don't lose yourself in strength alone. Naruto met his gaze. I know, sensei. Strength means nothing if I forget why I wanted it. Kakashi smiled. Good answer. As the group dispersed, Naruto stayed behind, gazing at the sunset. Sasuke paused briefly beside him. Tomorrow, Let's see who's stronger, Sasuke said. Naruto gave a faint grin. Don't hold back. Quote. Sasuke smirked and walked away, lightning flickering faintly around his hand. Next day, the invasion begins. The sky was clear as the final matches resumed, but beneath the surface, tension buzzed. The air smelled of danger. Naruto could feel it, a strange, unsettling chakra spreading through the arena. His instincts screamed at him. Before the third match even began, a massive explosion erupted from the northern wall. Smoke and screams filled the air. Konoha's guards shouted, "Enemy attack! It's an invasion!" Ninja from the sand and sound appeared in waves, leaping into the arena. Panic spread instantly. Minato, standing from the cage box, unleashed his chakra, the golden glow of the flying Raijin shining AC. "Ross the field. Evacuate the civilians," he shouted. All available Jonin, engage the enemy. Naruto stood frozen for a moment, watching the chaos unfold, until he saw a group of sound ninja attacking the crowd. Without hesitation, he moved. He blurred forward, appearing in front of the attackers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Dozens of Narutos appeared, charging into battle. Kunai and Shuriken flashed, chakra explosions lighting the stadium. Naruto fought like a storm, every motion precise, every strike purposeful. His clones overwhelmed the enemies with speed and coordination. Kakashi appeared beside him, Sharingan active. "Good work, Naruto. We'll hold this line." Naruto nodded. "Where's Sasuke?" Kakashi's gaze turned toward the forest beyond the arena. "He's gone after Gaara. Go. I'll handle things here." Naruto didn't hesitate. He vanished into the trees, following Sasuke's chakra trail. Deep in the forest, Gaara's transformation. Sasuke was panting heavily, his chidori crackling in his hand as he faced Gaara. The sand user was changing, his body twisting into a monstrous form as the Shukaku began to emerge. "Stay back, Sasuke-kun," Gaara growled, his voice echoing with a demonic undertone. "I'll kill you, I'll prove my existence through your blood." Sasuke charged with his last chidori, piercing Gaara's sand armor, but it wasn't enough. The sand monster swatted him away like a fly, sending him crashing into a tree. As Gaara prepared to attack again, a sudden wind blast hit him from the side. Naruto landed beside Sasuke, his expression serious. "You look like you need help." Sasuke smirked weakly. "TCH, took you long enough." Naruto didn't reply, his eyes were locked on Gaara. "I'll handle this, you rest." Gaara screamed as his transformation completed halfway, his right side now covered in sand, monstrous and unstable. "You're like me, Naruto Uzumaki. A monster, you can't understand me." Naruto's expression darkened. "You're wrong. I understand you perfectly." He formed a shadow clone, both charging forward in perfect sync. "Let's go." Gaara's claws slashed, but Naruto's clones dodged effortlessly. They struck back with wind-charged punches, breaking through the sand. "Wind style, Rasengan." Naruto's voice roared across the forest as the spiraling sphere tore through Gaara's defense, slamming into his chest. The explosion shook the trees, sending shockwaves through the ground. Gaara crashed into a crater, panting heavily. The sand form began to crack and crumble. As the dust cleared, Naruto walked toward him, bruised but standing tall. "You fight because you're lonely. I fought for the same reason. But I found something worth protecting, people who believed in me." Gaara looked up weakly. "Even after all the pain." Naruto smiled faintly. "That's what makes me strong." Gaara's eyes widened, and for the first time, he smiled, however faintly. Elsewhere, the Hokage battle. Back in the village, Minato faced Orochimaru atop the stadium walls. "You've fallen far, Orochimaru," Minato said coldly. Orochimaru smirked. "Perhaps. But I wonder, Minato, does your perfect little family still adore you?" Minato's eyes hardened. "Don't you dare talk about them." Quote. The two clashed, their chakra shaking the entire arena. Jiraiya arrived moments later to assist, summoning Gamabunta. "Looks like old times, eh, Minato?" Jiraiya grinned. Minato nodded. "Let's finish this." Quote. Together, the two legends fought back the invaders, pushing Orochimaru to retreat. After the battle, village at dawn. The fires had been extinguished. The invasion was over. Konoha was scarred, but it stood strong. Naruto sat near the forest edge, exhausted. Sasuke was unconscious beside him, but alive. The sun rose slowly, its light washing over them. Hinata appeared, limping slightly but smiling softly. "You did it, Naruto-kun." Quote, Naruto smiled faintly. "Not alone. Everyone fought together." She sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. "You've changed this village. They'll see who you truly are now." Naruto looked toward the village, his expression unreadable. "Maybe, but I don't fight for them anymore." Hinata looked up. "Then who?" Naruto's gaze softened. "For the people who believe in me. For the ones who never gave up on me." Hinata's eyes filled with warmth. "That's the Naruto I know." The wind blew gently, carrying away the smoke and ashes, a sign that the village would heal. Later, Hokage's office. Minato and Kushina stood looking at a new report, Naruto's actions during the invasion. He had saved hundreds of civilians, defeated enemy forces, and stopped Gaara from losing control. Kushina's voice was barely a whisper. "He's everything we hoped he'd be." Minato nodded slowly. "But he became that without us." Quote, tears slipped down her cheeks as she whispered, "We lost our son to our own ignorance." Minato placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll make it right. No matter how long it takes." Final scene, Hokage Monument. Naruto stood once more atop the fourth's head, looking down at the village. The scars of battle were still visible, but the people were rebuilding, stronger than before. He felt a strange peace inside him, not because everything was fixed, but because he had accepted who he was. Kurama's voice echoed faintly in his mind. "Greater than, you've grown, brat. Maybe you're not so useless after all." Naruto smiled slightly. "Thanks, fuzzball." "Greater than, HMPH. Don't let it get to your head." Naruto's gaze lifted toward the sunrise. "I'll protect this village, even if it never protected me." The light touched his face, golden and warm, a new beginning for the boy once forgotten. 10 quarters, 11:11 a.m., Vivavat. Naruto stood in the waiting area, his golden blue eyes locked on the large monitor showing the upcoming matches. The roar of the crowd outside echoed through the stadium. His fists were clenched, not in anger, but in determination. Years of pain, loneliness, and being forgotten had forged him into something his parents could never imagine, a warrior whose strength came not from a clan, but from his will. The announcer's voice thundered across the arena. Next match, Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. A hush fell. Whispers spread like wildfire among the spectators. Uzumaki. Wait, is he related to Lord Hokage's family? Quote, no way, that kid. He doesn't even live with them. Hyuga Neji will destroy him easily. Naruto ignored it all. He slowly walked into the sunlight of the arena. The golden rays reflected on his orange and black outfit, his expression calm but filled with quiet fury. Neji was already standing there, arms crossed, his eyes calm and cold. So, you're the forgotten son of the Hokage, Neji said mockingly, activating his Byakugan. You think you can defy fate. You don't even have the strength to be acknowledged by your own family. Quote, Naruto smiled faintly. Then I'll change my fate myself, and crush yours while I'm at it. The moment the proctor signaled the start, Neji dashed forward, his gentle fist blazing with chakra. But Naruto didn't move back, he sidestepped, countering with lightning-fast taijutsu. His movements were sharper, faster, nothing like the clumsy boy people remembered. Neji tried to strike his chakra points, but Naruto spun mid-air, dodging every hit, then slammed a Rasengan into the ground near Neji, sending a shockwave that threw dust everywhere. The crowd gasped. That's Rasengan. Impossible. How can he use that already? Up in the stands, Minato and Kushina watched in disbelief. Kushina's hand trembled. Minato, that's the Rasengan you taught only to. I didn't teach him, Minato whispered, his face unreadable. He learned it on his own. Back in the arena, Neji's expression darkened. So, you've improved, but you'll never surpass me. He formed his stance. 8 trigrams 64 palms. Neji struck, each blow precise and deadly, but halfway through, his fingers hit nothing but an afterimage. Naruto appeared behind him, hands glowing with blue light. Shadow clone burst. Multiple Narutos appeared, surrounding Neji in a spiral formation. They all charged at once, not random attacks, but coordinated moves. Neji was caught off guard. Every time he deflected one, another clone followed through perfectly. Finally, Naruto jumped high above and roared. Wind style, Raisin Shuriken. The massive spinning blade of chakra howled through the air, tearing up the arena floor. Neji barely formed a defensive dome, but the explosion shattered it, sending him flying. When the dust cleared, Neji lay unconscious on the ground. Silence. Then, thunderous cheers. Naruto stood there, breathing hard, but smiling faintly. His eyes turned toward the stands, not in arrogance, but to see the expressions of those who had ignored him for years. Minato and Kushina looked stunned. Even Jiraiya, watching from a distance, smiled proudly. That kid, he's surpassed everyone's expectations, Jiraiya muttered. After the match, as Naruto walked through the corridors, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to see Hinata, blushing but smiling softly. Naruto-kun, you were amazing. Truly amazing. Naruto smiled back, a bit softer this time. Thanks, Hinata. I trained for this, not to prove myself to them, but to prove that I never needed their approval. Quote. Meanwhile, in another room, Minato sat in silence, Kushina beside him. Minato, we failed him, she whispered, tears in her eyes. Minato clenched his fists. We'll make it right, somehow. But in Naruto's mind, forgiveness wasn't that simple anymore. Later that night, Naruto sat alone on the Hokage monument, gazing at the stars. The village below glowed with celebration. He could hear people chanting his name. Yet, deep inside, he felt that same emptiness, a hollow that victory couldn't fill. He thought back to the lonely nights when he watched his family from afar, his father smiling proudly at his sister, Mito, praising her training. Kushina hugging her and saying how proud she was. Naruto had waited, hoping one day they'd look at him the same way. That day never came. I don't need them, he whispered. I've got my own path now. A rustle behind him made him turn. It was Jiraiya. You've come far, kid, the sage said, sitting down beside him. But strength alone won't heal your heart. You still carry that pain. Naruto looked away. You wouldn't understand. Oh, I do, Jiraiya said quietly. I've seen what loneliness does to people. I trained your father. I saw the same fire in him, and the same loneliness. But you, Naruto, you can take that pain and turn it into something greater. Naruto sighed, his gaze still fixed on the stars. I'll become someone this village can't ignore anymore. I'll make them see me. Quote. Jiraiya chuckled. Hey, that's the spirit. Guess I'll have to make you even stronger. The next day, preliminary results. As the names for the final matches appeared, the crowd went wild. Naruto was to face Gaara of the Sand. Whispers filled the hall. Gaara, the monster who crushed his enemies mercilessly, versus the boy once forgotten by his own family. Gaara's cold voice echoed. You and I are the same. But you found something I didn't, people who still look your way. Quote. Naruto narrowed his eyes. No, we're not the same. I fight to protect others, not destroy them. Gaara smirked, his sand swirling. Then prove it, Uzumaki. As Naruto left the hall, he felt multiple eyes on him, not of doubt anymore, but respect. Shikamaru nodded slightly. Rock Lee smiled proudly despite his injuries. Even Sasuke, standing near the exit, smirked faintly. He's changed, Sasuke thought. He's not the dead last anymore. That evening, in the Hokage residence, Kushina sat alone, clutching an old photo, Naruto as a baby, smiling in her arms. Tears dripped onto the picture. I was supposed to protect you, and I ended up hurting you the most. Minato entered quietly. Kushina, maybe it's time we talk to him. She shook her head. Not yet. He's not ready to forgive us. I can see it in his eyes. Minato sighed. Then we'll wait, but we won't give up on him again. Meanwhile, at Training Grounds 44, Naruto trained until the moon was high, his body covered in sweat and scratches. Jiraiya watched from afar, smiling. Naruto's chakra control had improved drastically. His Rasengan was sharper, his movements fluid. But more than that, there was purpose behind every move. Soon, Jiraiya thought, this boy will surpass everyone, even the fourth Hokage himself. Naruto finished his last attack, panting, then stared at his reflection in the water. The Chunin finals, he whispered. Gaara, Sasuke, and then everyone else. I'll show them the real Naruto Uzumaki. He clenched his fists, determination blazing in his eyes. The forgotten sun will rise higher than any of them. Quote, 10 quarters, 11:13 a.m., Vivavat. The next few days in Konoha felt heavier, the air thick with anticipation. Everyone in the village whispered about one name, Naruto Uzumaki. The same boy they once dismissed as a nuisance was now being spoken of as a prodigy. Everywhere he walked, heads turned. Some villagers nodded in respect, others in disbelief. The news of his victory over Neji Hyuga had spread like wildfire. He hadn't just won, he'd dominated. But Naruto didn't bask in fame. While others rested, he trained harder than ever. The finals were drawing near, and his opponent was no ordinary foe, Gaara of the Sand, the Jinchuriki of Shukaku. In a secluded field outside the village, Naruto was practicing his Rasen Shuriken. Every failed attempt sent a gust of wind powerful enough to uproot trees. Sweat dripped down his face as his clones vanished one after another. "Tch, still unstable," he muttered, his hands trembling slightly from the strain. From behind a tree, Jiraiya watched silently. "He's growing faster than I thought. His chakra control, and his willpower, they're beyond his age." Naruto took a deep breath, his gaze fierce. Again, he formed the Rasen Shuriken once more, the sound of whirling chakra filling the air. But this time, something inside him shifted, his chakra flared wildly, merging with a faint reddish aura. The Rasen Shuriken pulsed with violent energy before exploding, tearing through the training field. Naruto fell to his knees, panting. Damn it, not enough control. Jiraiya walked out from the shadows. "You're trying to master a technique even the fourth Hokage hesitated to complete. Don't rush it, kid." Quote, Naruto smirked, still breathing heavily. "If my dad could create the Rasengan, then I'll perfect it. I'll make it mine." Jiraiya chuckled. "Hey, that's the spirit. Just remember, power means nothing if you lose yourself." Quote, Naruto looked up at the sky. "I've already lost enough, Ero Sennin. I won't lose myself too." The night before the finals. The moon hung low over Konoha. Inside the Hokage residence, the silence between Minato and Kushina was unbearable. Mito, their daughter, slept peacefully, unaware of the storm brewing between her parents. Kushina spoke first, her voice soft but full of guilt. "Minato, how did we not see it? Our son, training alone, bleeding, breaking himself just to be seen." Quote, Minato's eyes were shadowed. "We thought we were protecting Mito. She had the 9 tails sealed within her, we couldn't divide our focus. But he was our child too," Kushina whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Every time I saw him walk alone through the village, it was like he didn't exist to us. And now, he's showing us what we ignored all these years." Minato's hand clenched. "Tomorrow, after the finals, I'll speak to him. No more excuses." But deep down, both feared it was already too late. The Chunin exam finals, the day arrives. The stadium was packed with people. The excitement was electric, the air filled with tension. Lords, shinobi, and civilians alike had gathered to witness the greatest genin battle of the year. Naruto stood at the entrance tunnel, silent and focused. His heartbeat was steady, his chakra calm yet fierce. He could feel Gaara's dark presence from across the field, the killing intent so thick that it made even the proctor uneasy. As the gates opened, the crowd erupted. "Naruto! Naruto! Naruto!" Gaara stepped into the arena, his eyes wide and emotionless, his gorge shifting on his back. The sand inside whispered restlessly, sensing Naruto's power. "You have the same eyes I once had," Gaara said flatly. "Loneliness. Pain. You fight to be seen. But the world doesn't care about us. It only fears us." Quote, Naruto's expression didn't change. Maybe. But I'll make them see. I'll make them care, even if I have to destroy every wall that stands in my way. The proctor raised his hand. Begin. Gaara's sand surged forward instantly, forming claws and spikes that lunged at Naruto. The boy leapt back, flipping in midair, and sent kunai infused with wind chakra that sliced through the sand like paper. Gaara growled, his sand reforming. Interesting, you're faster than before. Naruto landed and smirked. You're not bad either, but I'm not the same weakling people used to ignore. Dozens of shadow clones appeared, circling Gaara. They attacked from every direction, but Gaara's sand shield blocked each strike. Then, in a flash of light, Naruto appeared above Gaara, his palm glowing blue. Take this, Rasengan. The Rasengan slammed into the sand dome, drilling into it and sending a shockwave across the arena. The ground cracked beneath them. Dust filled the air. When it cleared, Gaara's armor was fractured, blood trickled down his cheek. For the first time, Gaara smiled, not out of joy, but pure bloodlust. You hurt me. You'll regret that. The sand exploded outward, wrapping around Gaara as his form began to change. Shukaku's power surged, his body morphing into a monstrous half-beast form. The crowd screamed as the arena trembled. Naruto stood firm, his eyes narrowing. So that's your true power, fine then. He formed his hands into a seal. Sage art, wind-style barrage. His clones formed alongside him, combining their chakra. Together, they launched waves of cutting wind that collided with Gaara's sand in a violent storm. The entire stadium roared from the pressure. Up in the stands, Minato stood halfway from his seat, ready to intervene. If this continues, Jiraiya stopped him with a hand. Let him handle it, Minato. This is his fight, and his choice. Kushina's eyes were wide, her nails digging into her palms. He's just a boy. No, Jiraiya said softly. He's a warrior. Back in the arena, Naruto's chakra flared again, this time, an orange-red cloak shimmered around him. The crowd gasped. The power was enormous but controlled. The Nine Tails aura mixed with Naruto's wind chakra, amplifying his strength tenfold. Gaara's transformation faltered. Shukaku inside him roared, "Kill him, Gaara, or you'll be devoured." Naruto's voice echoed over the chaos, calm and firm. You think pain makes you a monster. Pain made me stronger. You're not alone, Gaara, but you choose to be. Naruto charged through Gaara's sand, his cloak burning like fire. He slammed his fist into Gaara's chest, the shockwave knocking the sand beast backward. The arena floor shattered. When the dust settled, Gaara lay unconscious, the sand retracting slowly. Naruto stood over him, battered but victorious. His cloak faded, leaving only the exhausted boy beneath. The stadium was silent for a moment, then exploded in cheers. Up in the stands, Minato and Kushina watched, tears in their eyes. Kushina whispered, he did it. Minato nodded, his heart heavy. He doesn't need saving anymore. He's already saved himself. As Naruto limped toward the exit, Jiraiya approached with a proud grin. Not bad, brat. You might just make me famous again. Naruto smirked weakly. Hey, you already are, old man. Behind them, as the cheers echoed, Minato and Kushina descended from the stands, walking toward the son they had once neglected. Naruto saw them coming, his expression unreadable. For a moment, time froze, parent and child, divided by years of silence and regret. Kushina's lips trembled. Naruto. He turned away slightly, his voice quiet but firm. I'm not ready to talk. Not yet. Quote. And with that, he walked past them, his figure fading into the sunlight, not as a forgotten boy, but as a hero reborn. 10 quarters, 11:14 a.m., Vivavat, the roars of the crowd still echoed through the stadium long after the dust settled. Naruto stood in the center of the destroyed arena, chest heaving, clothes torn and blood seeping from his wounds, but his eyes burned with determination. Gaara lay unconscious before him, the monstrous sand form gone, replaced by the boy beneath, trembling, human, fragile. The proctor's voice finally broke through the silence. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. The entire stadium erupted in cheers. Children waved flags, shinobi clapped, and even the elders whispered in disbelief. Uzumaki Naruto, the forgotten son of the Hokage. He defeated the Jinchuriki of the sand. Unbelievable. Naruto looked up at the sky, the sunlight washing over him. For the first time in his life, the cheers were for him. Not for his father's title, not for someone else's victory, but his own. But deep inside, there was no joy, only silence. He turned his gaze to Gaara, who was slowly opening his eyes. "Why?" Gaara whispered weakly. "Why didn't you kill me? You could have ended it." Naruto crouched beside him, his voice quiet. "Because I know what it's like to be you. To be alone, to think no one cares if you live or die." He looked away, eyes shadowed. "But if we stop fighting for others, even when they don't see us, we'll become the monsters they believe we are." Gaara stared at him, stunned. For the first time in years, his heart felt something other than hatred. "You're strange, Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto smiled faintly. "Guess that makes two of us." Later that evening, Hokage office. The Chunin exams were officially concluded. The reports were in, and the Hokage's pen moved quietly over the parchment. But Minato's hand shook slightly. Every word he wrote was haunted by the image of his son, standing proud, powerful, and yet so distant. Kushina stood beside him, still in silence. Her eyes were red from crying. "He didn't even look at us," she whispered. "Minato, he wouldn't even look." Minato sighed deeply, setting down his pen. "Can you blame him? We ignored him for years. We watched him grow up alone while we praised Mito." Quote, Kushina's hands clenched. "But he's our son, our little boy. I remember when he used to laugh, when he used to beg us to train with him." Her voice broke. "And now he doesn't even smile when he wins." Quote, Minato looked out the window, where the Hokage monument glowed under the moonlight. "He's carrying too much pain for a child. But he's strong, stronger than I ever was." Meanwhile, at the hospital, Naruto sat on the bed, his torso bandaged. He refused medical ninjas' help beyond the basics. He wanted to heal naturally, to feel the pain. It reminded him that his victory was real. The door creaked open softly. Hinata entered, clutching flowers nervously. "Naruto-kun," she said shyly. I heard what happened. You were incredible." Naruto looked up, and for the first time that day, he smiled, a small, tired, but genuine smile. "Thanks, Hinata." She placed the flowers on his bedside. "You've changed so much, I always believed in you." Naruto chuckled quietly. "You were probably the only one who did." Hinata blushed deeply but smiled back. "And now everyone else will see it too." Naruto leaned back, looking at the ceiling. "I don't care about that anymore. I just want to keep getting stronger. So no one can ever make me feel invisible again." Quote, Hinata's eyes softened with understanding. She didn't argue, she simply sat beside him in silence. At the same time, village streets. The villagers spoke excitedly as they walked home. For the first time, the name Naruto Uzumaki carried pride instead of disgust. "That kid, he really did it. He's the Hokage's son, after all. Maybe we were wrong about him." But a few still whispered in bitterness. "He's dangerous, just like the Nine Tails." Even with victory, old wounds didn't heal overnight. As Naruto looked out from his hospital window, hearing the mixed voices, he sighed softly. "They cheer now, but tomorrow, they'll forget again." Next morning, Training Ground 7. Naruto was already back on his feet, training again before dawn. His body ached, but his mind wouldn't rest. The Chunin exams were over, but something inside him told him this was only the beginning. He focused his chakra, forming a Rasengan, smaller and more controlled. The sphere spun faster, sharper, until it cut into the air like a blade. "Not enough," he muttered, sweat dripping down his face. "Still pushing yourself, huh?" Naruto turned to see Kakashi leaning against a tree, reading his usual book. "Kakashi-sensei," Naruto said, wiping his forehead. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," Kakashi replied, smiling under his mask. "You should be resting." "I can rest when I'm Hokage," Naruto said flatly. Kakashi's visible eye softened. "You know, you remind me of someone I once knew." Naruto smirked. "Let me guess, my dad." Kakashi chuckled quietly. Hey, maybe, but you've got something even he didn't. Quote, Naruto raised a brow. What's that? The will to rise from nothing, Kakashi said, closing his book. Minato started as a prodigy. You started as a ghost. But now the whole village knows your name. Quote, Naruto didn't respond. He just looked at the horizon, the morning sun painting the sky orange, the same color as his jacket. At the Hokage monument, that night, Naruto stood again atop the mountain, the village glowing below him. He felt the wind against his face, carrying whispers of the people who now spoke his name. He thought about his parents, about Mito, about everyone who had once looked past him. He thought about Gaara's eyes, filled with pain so similar to his own. He thought about Hinata's gentle voice, and Jiraiya's proud smirk. For the first time, he realized something: he didn't need anyone's approval anymore. I'll make my own legacy, he whispered to the night. Not as Minato's son, not as a Jinchuriki, but as Naruto Uzumaki. The wind howled softly, almost like it was answering him. Far away, in the Hokage residence, Kushina looked out the same direction, at the small, distant figure of her son standing above the village. Her heart ached with pride and regret. Minato joined her silently. He's growing fast. Kushina nodded, her voice trembling. Faster than we ever did. Minato sighed. Tomorrow, we'll face him. No more running from what we did. Quote, Kushina whispered softly, I just hope it's not too late. Deep underground, elsewhere in the shadows. Far from Konoha's lights, in a dark chamber, cloaked figures watched the Chunin finals recordings through a ceiling scroll. A masked man's voice echoed in the dark. Uzumaki Naruto, the neglected one. The vessel of the Nine Tails shows potential far beyond expectation. Another voice hissed. His power is growing. He could become a threat. Quote, the masked man chuckled quietly. Exactly why he must be brought to us, or destroyed before he awakens completely. His Sharingan glowed crimson under the mask. Let's see how far the Hokage's son can go before fate catches up to him. Quote, Back in Konoha, Naruto's apartment. Naruto sat on his bed, staring at the moonlight falling across the floor. His muscles ached, but his mind was clear. He opened a small box. Inside was an old, torn family photo. His parents smiling, holding baby Mito in their arms, while he stood slightly apart, barely in frame. He stared at it for a long moment. Then, with a deep breath, he placed it back and whispered, You'll have to wait, old man, Mom. I'll forgive you, but not yet. He turned to the window, his eyes blazing with determination. Because I've got something bigger to do first, becoming the man you'll be proud of, even if you don't deserve it. Quote, 10:15, 11:17 a.m., Vivavat, the air was thick with tension in the Chunin exam arena. The crowd roared as the next battle was announced, Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. Everyone leaned forward, excitement blazing in their eyes. But for Naruto, this wasn't just a fight. It was a declaration, that no matter who neglected him, who looked down on him, or who called him a failure, he would rise above it all. As he stepped forward, the sunlight caught his orange jacket, though now it looked darker, heavier, like it carried the weight of years of loneliness. His blue eyes weren't filled with childish cheer anymore, they burned with silent determination. Neji smirked, his Byakugan veins flaring around his temples. Fate has already decided, Naruto. You can't change what's destined. You are the dead last, the one meant to crawl in the dirt. Naruto didn't respond at first. He looked around, at the cheering crowd, at Hinata clutching the railing nervously, at his parents, Minato and Kushina, sitting silently in the cage stands. They looked at him with guilt and confusion, not pride. It hurt, but instead of breaking, it fueled him. He clenched his fists. You talk too much, Neji. I don't care about fate. I make my own destiny. Quote, High voltage, the clash begins. The proctor shouted, begin. Neji dashed forward in a blur, his gentle fist ready. He struck Naruto's chest, shoulder, and ribs in quick succession. Each hit sealing chakra points with deadly precision. The audience gasped. Naruto's finished already, someone yelled. But Neji froze mid-strike. His palm stopped inches from Naruto's chest, blocked by a sudden burst of golden chakra. Naruto smirked. "You think I didn't prepare for that?" Quote. A swirling golden aura surrounded him, his chakra cloak pulsing violently. His training with Jiraiya and his hidden sessions deep in the forest had awakened something powerful. It wasn't Kurama's full chakra yet, but it was raw, refined, and his own. Neji tried to back off, but Naruto was faster. His fist crashed into Neji's stomach, launching him back into the wall. Dust exploded across the arena. The crowd fell silent. Naruto stood tall, his eyes glowing, not red, but a fierce golden-blue mix, symbolizing his new balance between his spirit and Kurama's lingering power. Neji coughed blood, getting up slowly. "Impossible, you weren't supposed to be this strong." Naruto cracked his neck. "That's what happens when everyone stops looking at you. You start building your own strength." Crossed swords, the power of resolve. Neji came again, faster, angrier. "You're blind, Naruto. Fate controls everything." He unleashed his ultimate move, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. But this time, Naruto didn't dodge. His body shimmered, a flicker of speed so fast that even Neji's Byakugan couldn't keep up. In an instant, Naruto appeared behind Neji, whispering coldly, "You're wrong." Quote. A flash of chakra erupted, wind-style, Rasengan Cyclone, a Rasengan infused with cutting wind energy that blasted Neji straight into the ground, shattering the floor tiles. When the smoke cleared, Neji was unconscious. The proctor raised his hand. "Winner, Naruto Uzumaki." The stadium erupted in cheers. But Naruto didn't smile. He simply turned and walked away, his heart strangely heavy. Heartbreak, the pain behind victory. In the cage stands, Minato and Kushina were silent. Kushina's hands trembled as she whispered, "He's grown so much. And we weren't there for him." Minato's jaw tightened. He didn't just grow strong, he grew alone. Quote. Jiraiya, standing nearby, folded his arms. "You both made mistakes. But that kid, he carries something special. Maybe even greater than what either of you had." Naruto walked through the corridor, the sound of the crowd fading behind him. He could hear whispers, people who once mocked him now cheering his name. But deep down, it didn't matter. The ones he wanted to hear from never called him son. As he reached the end of the tunnel, Hinata ran after him. Naruto-kun," she called softly. Naruto turned, his face softer now. "Hinata." She was breathing hard, her cheeks red. "You were amazing out there, truly. I knew you could do it." He smiled faintly. "Thanks, Hinata. You're one of the few who believed in me, even when no one did." Her eyes widened slightly. "I always will." For a moment, the heaviness in his chest eased. Cyclone darkness in the shadows. But peace didn't last long. That night, in the forest outside the village, Naruto stood by the riverbank, meditating. His reflection shimmered on the water. Then, a dark presence whispered in his mind. "You showed 'em today, but still, they don't see your worth." It was Kurama, the Nine Tails. Naruto opened his eyes. "I don't need their approval anymore." Kurama chuckled, his voice deep and resonant. "You say that, but your heart trembles every time you see them look at your sister instead of you." Naruto clenched his fists. "Stop it. You've grown stronger, but you still carry pain. Let me lend you more of my power. Together, we can crush this village's ignorance." Naruto's aura flickered, red mixed with gold. "No, I'll grow strong my way. I'll protect them, even if they forgot me." For a moment, Kurama was silent. Then he smirked inside the seal. "You're just like your father, stubborn. But perhaps, you'll surpass him one day." High voltage, the semi-finals. Naruto's next opponent was Gaara of the Sand, another monster who carried a demon inside him. The match drew near, and tension spread throughout Konoha. Before the fight, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, the wind brushing his hair. He looked at the faces of the past Hokage carved into the stone. "I'll be up there someday," he whispered. "Not because I'm their son, but because I earned it." When the match began, Gaara's sand surged like a living wave, but Naruto didn't back down. Their clash shook the entire arena. Gaara's sand monsters roared, and Naruto countered with wind-enhanced shadow clones, each wielding a Rasengan variant he developed secretly. Minato watched in awe. His son was using wind-style Rasengan he had never completed himself. As the battle raged, Gaara's inner demon began to take over, but Naruto stopped him with one sentence. I know what it feels like to be alone, to be hated for something inside you. But we can choose to be better. Quote, for the first time, Gaara hesitated. Their fight ended not with a Rasengan, but with Naruto offering his hand. Let's both prove them wrong. Gaara stared, then slowly accepted. Trophy the outcome. The final results were never announced. The invasion began. Orochimaru attacked, and chaos engulfed the village. Naruto fought with unmatched ferocity. He battled enemy shinobi, protected civilians, and even saved his parents during a critical ambush, the same parents who once couldn't save him. When the smoke cleared, Konoha still stood. Broken, but alive. Naruto, covered in blood and dust, stood in the center of the ruins. Villagers looked at him differently now, not as the demon child, but as the savior. Minato approached slowly. Naruto turned, his face unreadable. You've grown so strong, Minato said quietly. Stronger than we could ever imagine. Kushina stepped forward, tears in her eyes. We're sorry, for everything. For not being there. For letting you grow up in pain. Naruto looked at them both, the ache in his heart twisting. I wanted to hate you for so long. But, I realized hate only stops me from moving forward. Quote, he turned away, facing the rising sun. I forgive you, but I can't stop now. My path doesn't end with your forgiveness, it begins with my strength. Minato's lips trembled, but he nodded. Then go, Naruto. Become the Hokage you were born to be, not because of your name, but because of your heart. Naruto walked ahead, the wind brushing through his hair. Hinata watched from afar, whispering softly, you're amazing, Naruto-kun. Quote, Gaara, now standing among the sand delegation, bowed slightly in respect. Even Kurama, inside Naruto's mind, smiled faintly. You're different, brat. You're changing the fate of this world. Sunrise epilogue. Days later, Naruto stood once again on the Hokage monument, looking over the peaceful village. The sky blazed orange, reflecting the fire in his spirit. He clenched his fists and whispered to himself, once, I was the boy they forgot, but now, I'm the shinobi they'll never forget. Quote, and somewhere deep within, Kurama's voice rumbled approvingly. You've finally earned your strength, not through hate, but through resolve. Naruto smiled, the wind carrying his words across Konoha. Greater than, this is my way of the ninja, no more neglect, no more weakness. Just me, Naruto Uzumaki, standing tall. The story of the Forgotten Son had only just begun. If you enjoy this fanfic then please like and subscribe my channel Narutofix 11 for part. Thank you so much.